all these favorite plot device, a girl in a fucking box. And
why is it my favorite plot
it's
device?
your favorite Outlaw Star,
I compare
Firefly,
them, that's
this
all.
favorite plot point ever.
Wow.
I just compared
You
them
have a
together.
valid point.
Hey everyone, welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome.
Wow.
All of them.
Even if you had an accident that gave you Kree powers, and now you have to use them to defend Earth
And the
all of her
universe. inhabitants
and all of the galaxy.
You're welcome here too.
You're welcome here
Or
too.
even if you're suffering from vibranium poisoning.
Exactly, more specifically, that's right.
Or if you identify yourself as one Earthling, as one Kree, and as an Avenger.
Yeah.
I identify as a flerken.
Well,
I see that. I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't guessed, today's episode is going to be Captain Marvel, the comic book.
Volume 1.
Volume 1, called Higher, Further, Faster, More, writer Kelly Sue Deconnick, and the
Illustrator
is
David Lopez.
David Lopez.
Yeah.
If you are new to the show, thank you for watching. Of course, you can listen to it. I meant to say thanks for listening on Apple Podcasts. Buried the lead there a little bit. And if you are a veteran, we are now in video. So you can head on over to your local YouTube channel.
Don't I look good
Nerd on
video?
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Corey is.
YouTube.com/nerdontv, with the exception of Corey Powers, of course, one Corey Powers.
Yeah.
He is away.
He has a face for podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we don't put him on the air or on video.
He's in
Really?
the corner back
I
over
sound like
there,
my mom.
off stage left there.
yeah.
No, he's in North California right now, remoting in.
I'm actually in Washington.
Oh,
So you
even
were
northern.
really close, but
Close.
yeah.
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 But
War
before
sounds
we
like
get
a
too far
friend.
into
I
it,
am.
before we get too far into it, I am Corey.
I am Caitlin.
I'm Tom.
Ollie.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over on Patreon. You guys allow us, our patrons, that is what I mean by you guys,
Yep.
allow us to keep doing this show and to keep growing and to keep expanding and all that good stuff.
That's the reason you can see us right now.
We just keep getting higher, further, faster, more. No.
It's like the thing.
It's like a thing. But yeah, if you are new to Patreon, Patreon is essentially like a membership service. You subscribe to your favorite creators, say, I don't know, Nerd
Us.
On.
I don't know.
And what you get for it as rewards is you get bonus content. You get Discord server access where you can talk to us and other fans. You
Unlimited
get
access to us.
that need like a monster truck. Unlimited.
Some boundaries, but
Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah.
Sure. For me.
Sure.
Not for me.
You even get a little bit of a say of how we record our episodes or when we record it. Mm-hmm. So,
So
Lots of
yeah, you can
goodies.
head on over to patreon.com/nerdontv and you can get all the information over there. Cool. So yeah.
So
Now, Tom, can I ask you a question? Is this a
No.
contained piece?
this is volume 1 of Marvel Now. And so with Marvel Now, Marvel's big statement over to DC is we don't do full line reboots. DC is known for Final Crisis, Infinite Crisis, New 52, and Rebirth. And those are their those retcons.
Reset buttons.
Yeah, and Marvel doesn't. They say that we don't do that. What they do is they do these little 1 volumes, and they're like, "Here's everything you need to know, jam packed in a story that kind of gets you like, this is how you should start." And so, like, I may not know everything about Carol Danvers, but I know what's her business. I know how she is as a
Right.
character and why I should read it. So to answer your question, the non-political way, yes, this is a contained story, but it has further on adventures. This is a 6-issue run. By,
So what do we do with
Deconnick.
contained stories then that
With
are quote unquote finished?
With contained story, we get to rate it.
Wow.
1 out of 5, based on how good or how much we liked it, with our qualms and favorite characters, X, Y, and Z. If it's someone like Caitlin, who tends to like the book,
Which I do.
and
Usually.
if it's she'll rate it like 5. If it's Josh and he reads a lot more like Image and DC Vertigo,
Yeah.
he might be like, I could use a little bit more black and white and a little bit more monologues for my characters.
Yeah.
He might rate it like a 4.9. But still makes him the grump of the week.
Wow.
Even
I
though
was gonna say, since we have a rating system,
that allows us to guess
that
Grump.
Grump.
Dun, 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 Flerkens.
Man, you look like a rat.
Oh,
Anyways, for everyone that's at home listening or watching that's new to the show, Guess That Grump is a segment where we are rating it 1 out of 5. But before at the end, when we actually throw our ratings, we get to guess who do we think is going to have the lowest rating. So please join along. Write it in the comments and blah, blah, slip inside the DMs.
Who
Or
do
who
you
you
think the Grump's going to be?
What's
write it
your
down on a piece of paper.
What's your rating for it? And then, it exists on the internet. So I will, I always explain, so I will choose who will be my vote for the lowest rate. And I think that is going to be Corey.
Ooh.
Every time you pick Corey for anything, I feel like it's some sort of cheating thing because you and Corey are like
Oh, it's like because I cheat on him all the time?
this.
Wow.
You know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no.
I do. I know exactly what you're doing.
He can't even see it and he knows.
I am going to, you know what? I'm going to guess Tom.
Dun dun dun.
I hate it when mom and dad fight.
I know.
Dramatic squirrel.
I think it's going to be
But the
Corey.
makeup sex is great.
Corey,
Josh
Yeah, I
was
think
Corey
it's
as
going to be
well.
Corey.
Okay.
Okay.
Ali.
I'm gonna go Caitlin.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's see.
So 2 on Corey, 1 on Caitlin,
1 on Tom.
1 on Tom. Fuck.
I'm gonna say 1 more on Tom.
2 on Tom, 2 on Corey.
2 on Corey, 1 on Caitlin. All right.
Throwing the sea to the wind.
Josh and Ali
No
go
safe
first.
choices here.
You heard it here, folks. Folks.
Wow.
First.
It wasn't in English, but you heard it first.
So after Guess That Grump, we're going to go to our complete spoiler of that, our initial reactions.
It's the logical next step.
100%.
Spoil what we just did.
It's like pretty much, what'd you think? You ready? What'd you think?
What you think?
Pour moi. No. Pour
For me? No.
Corey.
pour vous, Corey. Pour vous, Corey.
Yeah.
What would you think?
This is actually my first solo Captain Marvel comic I've read. I've read things with her in it plenty of times, but this would be my first one. I think this was a great story, a really great introduction to the character for people like me who are kind of familiar but don't really know what she's about outside of like the team ups.
Not uncultured, but just not initiated.
Right.
Yes, correct. I think it's a really great jumping off point for anyone who kind of wants to get into comics as a whole. There's not a whole lot you need to know about really going in except for like who Iron Man is. And unless you haven't heard anything about Marvel in the last 10 years, then,
Unless you've turned off your TV for the last 20 years.
yeah. So,
Which is possible.
yeah, I thought it was a really well told story. A really well told story, really coherent. And it really gave me an idea who the character was.
Tom.
Myself. Pour vous. Pour me. Pour moi. I've read some Carol Danvers stories. So I mean, like I think I haven't read anything like that really surrounded around her other than like Civil War II, which is not the best compared to the original Civil War. But I knew Carol Danvers mainly as
Understatement.
mainly as Miss Marvel. Who couldn't sell a fucking comic book to save her fucking life, and that's why she got thrown into a lot of X-Men comic books, and then Rogue took her powers, and then she went into comatose, and then they were like, we're just gonna put her in the back burner because we don't know how to write her, and then they made this, and now she's fucking awesome, and then now she's Brie Larson's. So I read this and I liked it. It to me, it's the thing about volume ones of or 1 out of 6
So there's
issues.
3.
Yes.
For everybody at home. There are
there are
3
3.
of this particular.
Yeah, and so with this all contained story, it's very first act in the sense of like, here it is, here's the story, here we go, we're in space, and it's like, okay, cool, and like it's fun, it's enjoyable, in a for better or for worse, and I think Ollie will say for better. It reminds me very much of like any type of like Phase 1 Marvel 1 movie. Right,
100%.
and it's very much like, cool. I had a good time. It was worth my $8 or someone else.
I'll challenge that a little
Captain
bit.
Marvel.
Well,
I will too.
Let me say the last thing, right? It's like, here it is, right? But at the end, I'm kind of like, I want to see I want to see the sequel. I want to see what's going to
The
happen
flerken.
after. A little bit like that. Because like this one just kind of really gives you the sense of the character, but not much of the world that goes around outside of it.
Did you read volume 2?
I would say
Because it's very much about flerkens.
I know it says the return.
Anyway, sorry.
the whole cover, I think, is just them.
Anyway,
To me, I would say it feels like a Phase 2 movie in the sense that you
So not great.
Yeah, not 3. In the sense that you have established characters that you're very excited to see on screen returning. To me, I had a lot of fun with this book. It reminded me of the MCU. Is the closest comic that I've read that feels the closest to the MCU as far as like tone and as far as like the way the characters were presented and some of the jokes and the humor. I think paralleled that really well, especially when the Guardians come into picture.
Or in country.
I thought the same thing.
Come in country. So that part I really liked. I mean, even to the point where I was like, I was starting to sing the Avenger theme in the back of my head. So that was going on. I loved everyone in there, and I liked getting a good sense of Carol Danvers, not just from a strictly plot perspective, but from a character perspective of like, let's set up who this character is, what she's about,
Where she live, who she dating.
who she's dating, and then more just about herself, like the struggles that she's going on with his character, and how that translates to what happens in the following events.
I like how a lot of her inner monologues are not like, how do I save these people? It's more like, what would a good person do? And those are like, it's fucking cliche. It's like the 300 line. What must a king do? You must ask yourself, what does a good man do?
Yeah.
Anyways. Josh.
I like the book.
Wow.
Well, no, I am like Corey. I have experienced Captain Marvel, but not to where it's all Captain Marvel all the time. She was just a character in some of the comic books that I've read, and this was an interesting experience for me because of that past experience, because you get
In this current experience?
in this current
And then your
experience and
future
then this
experiences?
life experience, and then you realize time is just an illusion. No,
Oh, Jesus.
Fair point.
Wow.
It's not an illusion. It's a construct.
it's a construct.
Welcome to Quantum Cast.
The thing about when a character has their own story, you get to learn about the character instead of them just being a side character. You're like, oh, their personality, their blah blah blah. This, I was almost thrown aback. But from what I understand, Deconnick kind of changed the character a little bit, revamped her a little bit to make her a little bit more spicy, so to speak. She's got
Muto
more
supaishi.
Spicy.
Yeah, spicy
That's a good way to put it.
Muy caliente.
She's got some sass, which I liked. I got a few pages in and I was like, this is not the Captain Marvel that I knew, but I'm totally okay with it.
Hashtag not my Captain Marvel that I knew with the time experience of the time.
Yeah, time is a construct. Hashtag. I almost said hashtag not sponsored by Time. No,
Not sponsored by time.
Yet.
yet.
Or then.
Then.
Or
Oh,
now.
when? I really, but again, I really enjoyed this because it was a new take. It was like, oh, cool. It's something different. And I really
Breath
enjoyed
of
it.
fresh air.
Yeah.
Of the wild.
Yeah.
Caitlin?
So
She didn't. No, she did.
I read this without knowing anything about Captain Marvel, other than the little star and shapy thing
And she's
showed
blonde.
up
Or a
in the
trailer that
movie
you saw
at the
with-
end, and the
Yeah.
trailer.
And she's
I mean,
blonde.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I really knew was like the end of the movie when there's a beeper
Yeah.
and
Zabeeper.
Oh, the end of
Zabeeper.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zabeeper. And then I knew
Zabeeper.
about the
Brie Larson.
trailer that we watched, and that is all I knew. So I read this completely blind. I didn't want to read anything else because I wanted to read it. If this is supposed to be a good introduction, I wanted to have the perspective of someone who
Yeah.
this is my real
I
introduction.
mean, you're going to go see the movie next week, so.
Yeah, so it's good to
We
know.
read this in preparation.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first time I read it, I was like, who the fuck is this? Why is she got zapped, but who the fuck is Tracy? Why is Kit here? What's going on? Like there was,
That throws you in.
it throws you in. It didn't feel completely foreign. Like it still kind of had that it did it in such a way where you feel cozy, like you're in that scenario.
Yeah.
And I wasn't so like left field. I felt like I was in the acquaintance friend that got brought to a party where I don't know anybody, but the friend is doing their best to like introduce me to everybody.
Nice.
So I have just enough surface level introduction to everybody where I'm like, okay, I feel kind of okay being here right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's a good and bad spot at the same time. I guess that comes from Marvel not hitting a reset. There's the like double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
So like with DC, there is that feeling like when they reset everything, you're like, well, why did I read those stories then?
Yeah.
If they're just going to reset them. So Marvel continuing that, it's rewarding fans, but then it does make it slightly harder for newer people to kind of jump in.
Well,
they find that medium somehow.
I feel like, and part of the fun thing about reading it the first time was, to me, comic books are like a spider's web, and every juncture of the web, like when you read one comic book, you're seeing like the different aspects that kind of keep that juncture there. So like in this, you have Iron Man, and you had Guardians of the Galaxy, and you had these other things that were keeping this juncture together. So it was like making more sense to me as it went on.
It felt fitted.
It felt fitted because, and it was nice. Those were like, the latter half was much more fun for me because I got to go, oh, I understood that reference. Like
Captain America.
Just like Captain America.
exactly.
I was gonna say, like, to add to your ideology of like the web, I would also try to think of it like a Jackson Pollock painting. Or a bunch of splats of paint of different colors of paint, because some of them don't connect and then some of them do connect.
Right.
And then also some dots are just by itself, and then some dots are like fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Because of that web, it kind of like gives a promise of like everything's going to be connected.
Right. When it's totally
comic books
not.
can never promise that.
Yeah.
They will never promise that. There are reasons why a fucking reboot happened, but anyways, no, that's cool.
So yeah, it was a good initial reaction.
With that initial reaction, we'll do a brief synopsisizing, which for everyone at home's first time hearing that, synopsis of the story.
In case you went, what the fuck did he just say?
And some of the backstory of the character, as well as the historical reference of the comic book. So we start 6 weeks ahead, or our current time is 6 weeks ahead of where we're actually going to start reading the story. And Carol Danvers is with a ragtag group of aliens trying to find someone that they're looking for from another alien planet. And then she gets caught by someone from the Spartax Empire, and that's all we see. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? That's how you should feel. And then it'll say 6 weeks earlier, it's on Earth, and she's flying around with Rhodey, who's in the Iron Patriot suit, which we all fucking hated in Iron Man 3, because they misused that shit so bad. Anyways, it's cool to see it. Anyways, and we find out that they have like a relationship, and Iron Man's like, hey, I think there should be an Avenger that goes to space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. There should be a rotation of Avengers that works alongside Sword. Shield is like the on-Earth defense with enhanced people and superpowered people. Metahuman is a DC thing. So enhanced peoples and superpowered people. And Sword is like space. We're like the satellite that defends against otherworldly things.
Yeah.
And then Iron Man's like, I think the best pilot is Rhodey. And she's like, oh, fuck no. And then she tells Rhodey.
Oh, hell no.
She tells Rhodey at this like little birthday thing at a Air Force hangar, which obviously they would both be pilots. They'd both hang out there. And she says, I need to go fly. I need to go do that thing. And he's like a loving ass boyfriend is like, do what you got to do, boo.
He's like, if you're a bird, I'm a bird.
Yeah. Shout out to that episode. And so she goes off and starts, she flies on this jet. With an AI that she ends up making friends with, Harrison or something. Harrison.
And her cat, Chewie.
And her cat. And she meets the Guardians of the Galaxy. Hilarity ensues because Rocket Raccoon wants to kill the cat because he thinks it's a flerken.
Wants to kill her flerken cat.
Flerken cat. And she's like, it's just a regular cat. He's like, no, that's a flerken. That's what they want you to think. Hilarity ensues. They land up on the planet that she's supposed to finally be. Oh, no. She finds Ollie's favorite plot device, a girl in a fucking box. And
why is it my favorite plot
it's
device?
your favorite Outlaw Star,
I compare
Firefly,
them, that's
this,
all.
Favorite plot point ever.
Wow.
I just compared.
You
them
have a
together.
valid point.
You know?
There's the evidence. And then she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I gotta kill you guys. But also my planet's dying. And it's like, okay, let's go save her. She's a little girl. And so they go to the planet and they see all these people starving and all that shit. And it's like, I
And all
know.
sick.
Yeah, they're like all mad. They're like, oh, it's an Avenger. You guys helped Spartax when the builders were destroying planets and shit like that. It's like, we helped Spartax.
Get your flerken ass out of here.
Who Jason of Spartax
Jason.
is.
thought it was
him
totally
Jason.
Jason.
I just kept saying Jason.
Yeah,
in
I
my
did
head.
too.
It's definitely Jason. Is Star-Lord's father, not Ego Kurt Russell. It's Jason. And so everyone's like, blah, MCU. I'm like, okay, brother, just relax. It's their run. Fucking relax. It's still telling a good story. So Jason, who is an asshole of the Spartax Empire, is just pretty much like, we got to evacuate all these sick-ass people off the planet for reasons. And
Even though he
for-
just moved them there.
yeah.
Reasons.
And then the Empress, aka Ma'am, is just like, I don't know. Our people want to stay here. I do want to make the move, but I don't know what the fuck to
Yeah.
do.
But they're also asking them to leave their sick behind.
yes. And then Carol Danvers is like, I can help. And it's like, you're an outsider. You
That's
don't belong
exactly
here.
the voice that I thought that she would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have this court, and then one sect of an alien race is like, hey, look, our suits help us stay alive and also help your sick people. We'll just stay. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, tap, tap, foreshadow. And later on, they're trying to find any way to build jets and ships off to get people evacuated off the planet. They end up having to chase off people, go into other planets, and that's where we end up on where we first started out 6 weeks ago. We end up finding out that there's a big plot that the Spartax army found a vibranium mine inside the planet that these aliens are now dying on because they have vibranium poisoning.
They're mining it in an old-fashioned way that doesn't protect anyone.
Yeah, it's so fast and it's killing everybody. And the aliens who are in the suits who are willing to stay there for a long time were the ones that were doing it.
And the is it the Spartax that Jason leads?
Mm-hmm.
They want to line their ships with that,
Vibranium.
making them
Indestructible.
essential. Yeah.
They want to make that, get this man a shield. Shit,
Yeah.
you know, like they want to do that shit.
To a ship.
Yeah.
To a fleet.
And it's because it's all of the remnants
Flerken fleet.
because they're
Flerken feet.
the Spartax fleet was pretty much depleted after the Builders War, and the Builders was a big like cross, multi-cross event that happened on the comic books, and that's what kind of started the Marvel Now thing. It ends up where everyone finds out what the fucking plot is. Like, oh my god, they're trying to evacuate everyone so they could mine everyone correctly, but the Spartax really don't give a shit about people. And then the Empress is like, yo, I gotta stand up for my people. And then she tells Captain Marvel's like, if you're gonna stay, pretty much, read between the lines. If you're gonna stay, you're not gonna be an Avenger. You're not gonna be this. You're gonna be Captain Marvel. And so Captain Marvel fights him off. Everyone gets together. They fight off the Spartax Empire, and Jason has to leave.
Yeah.
Team Rocket blast off away.
Because Captain Marvel blows up the mine.
Yes. And it ends with Captain Marvel leaving, being a hero, and everyone loves her. And ends off to her later space voyages where no man has gone before.
Meow.
Or a woman's
Well
about
done.
to.
Yeah. But yeah, so where the historical context of this comic book takes place, I would say it's very much in the middle. This came out like in early 2000s.
Okay.
Like
At
two,
least on your sheet of the notes that you have made, 10/8/2014.
yes,
Is that true?
2014. 2014. I was like, well,
So,
this is
not the early 2000s.
so like the early 2010 is
Yeah. Yeah.
So close.
yeah.
All out.
Of the 2000 centuries.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I think of it like if I was still in college, then it's a little early. But actually, this is right about the time I moved to LA.
wow.
So it came out a little around the time, like, so Civil War came out like very early on before this point. So at least like several years
comic
before
book Civil War?
yeah.
Okay.
And Miss Marvel, it was just Carol Danvers was like Captain Marvel's sidekick, aka Jude Law. And pretty much just like the page that shows in the fucking comic book of like there's a Kree machine and gets her DNA and all that shit, and all of a sudden she becomes Miss Marvel, like pretty much still a sidekick. And then Captain Marvel actually dies of cancer, and because in Marvel, the one thing you can't cure is fucking cancer. You can, if someone explodes, if someone gets beheaded, you can save them. Cancer, no, they die. They
Okay.
dead.
All right.
DED, dead.
Not even Deadpool can escape cancer.
Nope. which is true. And so later on, like again, she was in a bunch of X-Men comic books. Couldn't fucking sell a comic
Thought you
book.
were gonna say eczema movies.
Eczema
I was
movies.
like, yeah.
But then later on, after the events of Civil War I, where she was like Iron Man's actually second lieutenant, like she became Captain Marvel. And then she started getting reworked as her own character and not living under the shadow of Marvel, which is why it's called Captain Marvel.
Wasn't she Miss Marvel as kind of a homage too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Homage,
Homage, whatever.
Close.
I'm gonna do fromage. And
Homely.
this comic book was during Marvel Now, right? And so this was kind of like, hey, everyone, we're gonna start all the numbers all over again. And it's not a line wide reboot. So all the characters aren't going to start from scratch, but all the numbers are going to start at 1. So comic book people were like, okay, it's number 1. I should be able to pick this up and not have any type of baggage with it. New readers were like, oh, it's number 1. It's probably going to be like beginning, middle, and end, and I'll be able to pick. No, fucking not like that. But as we've read and we can see, like, this is a pretty much like, here's everything you need to know in the first like 10 pages. And then there you go.
And then it's a new story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is not to confuse anyone, there is a new Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Kamala Khan.
Oh yeah.
Kamala Khan.
With the
First
black and the
Muslim
little
superhero.
lightning.
She's
lightning stripe.
she's a brown girl, and she could like shapeshift her body. She's fucking really dope. And the thing I really like about her character is that like she looks up to Captain Marvel. Is like, oh my god, I want to be like a Miss Marvel. It's like, just be Miss Marvel. And that was a really empowering thing. And that's a really cool thing that they did with Marvel Now as well as Marvel 2.0 was that they got a lot of women writers in there to write all their fucking like women superheroes, and all of them just really adopted this ideology of like, fucking be a hero, not because you have a sad, tragic backstory, but be a hero because you want to be a hero.
Because you're a badass.
Yeah, and so like we saw with this and other comic books like Spider-Gwen, Squirrel Girl, Kamala Khan, all these different female heroes started coming out and actually like leading their own comic books for a while.
Yeah.
And like Captain Marvel, this having her own issue for a long time is a big deal because like a lot of people got canceled after like 6 issues.
Yeah.
So, and now we're getting a movie.
Yeah.
Was
Where does that bring us to?
What's up?
By the way, well done, Tom. That was a lot of information.
Good job.
Was this around the time when they announced the movie?
Fuck no.
Was it before or after?
2014.
Yeah, but when did they announce the movie? I don't know. I remember.
The movie, they announced it like
2017.
like Civil War.
Yeah.
Like that was like 2017. Yeah, you're right, Corey. About 2017.
Wow.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
It feels like it was longer ago.
No. They were like, oh, we might have this, and we don't know who the fuck we're gonna have. And then I think after Kong Skull Island came out, they're like, it's gonna be Brie Larson.
I know, but I meant just the fact that the movie's being made.
Yeah. It was
I
like
know
it was pretty recently.
It was that one event that they had where they announced all the movies. So I feel like it was a while ago.
That might have been early 2015. I know what you're talking about.
It ended with Avengers Infinity War.
So I remember it was around the time that this came out.
That
I can Google it real quick.
event that you're talking about is when they introduced Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
No, I'm talking about a different event then. Oh no, wait, maybe you're right.
I'm 100% right.
You're
That's the
100%
only time they announced it, and they're like, "Hey, look, there's an Inhumans movie." Like, oh my god!
Yeah.
And then it's
Officially
like, actually, it's a
announced
show.
October of 2014.
There you go.
The movie?
Yeah,
fact that it's being
development
made.
began in 2013, but officially announced in 2014. They didn't cast or start. Larson wasn't announced until late 2016 at Comic-Con.
That part I know was later.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like
And no directors were announced till the 2017.
The reason I bring it up was because do you think that the hype of the movie's inevitability, kept us alive at all?
Well, and as our audience might know, Iron Man 1, Robert Downey Jr. and fucking Jon Favreau is the reason why Marvel exists.
Exactly.
Because like the entire Marvel company and all comic books were fucking bankrupt. Other than DC because they sold all their rights to WB, which was a fucking smart ass move. Because all their money was all there. But to answer your question, once Avengers 1 came out, everything was on the table.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a scramble to get all our rights back and then to make as many moves as possible so we can keep our rights.
I was going to say, I don't know if the announcement affected this directly, but Marvel as a whole being as big as it did, for sure did. A lot of people were asking for it.
Yeah. And I think the funny thing is kind of asking the question of like, what do they ask for more? A Captain Marvel movie or a Black Widow movie?
Well, I remember reading that they wanted to make a strong female-led Marvel movie, and I mean, you have a handful of them that you can choose from, and this was one that they went towards.
I think it's because it's a new character.
Yeah.
Not something that they've already seen on screen, so it's more excitement potentially. And then 2, I think it's because it opens up the cosmic universe in such a grand fashion. That the Guardians did that in grand fashion, but it gets to.
But this can expand on that,
right?
It can expand the universe.
Exactly.
Some might say.
Well, the funny thing is, like, the Guardians, other than Rocket, aren't. And like they don't show a lot of exhibition of knowledge of like the universe and shit like that, which is a little weird. Even Gamora, like a lot of her lines are like, "I'm just cool, fucking Raphael Shredder, dude." Yeah, it's like, all right, Gamora, we get it. But like with Carol Danvers, it's like, oh, she has been in the universe for a while, and it's like that's what I really look forward to her bringing that in. It's kind of like how Suri was like, why don't you just connect them, or why don't you just do these connectively? Like when she was telling Bruce Banner of like, you're a fucking idiot. It's like, I love the idea that there's always going to be someone smarter and more in knowledge about.
Well, I like that it's a period piece too, because it's like you could fill in that time in between, regardless of what happens in like Endgame or even the Captain Marvel movie. You have like a chunk of time that if you really wanted to, you could dive into those movies. But anyways, that's a lot of that.
I mean, but here's the thing. Here's why this conversation is kind of appropriate is that what I have read is that they are basing it on this.
Brie Larson's character on this.
Brie Larson's character on this.
Feels like it.
Like, you have some knowledge about that.
Said that it's based on Deconnick's version. And you know, what's interesting because reading into it is that I want to be specific because she likes her full name being used. Kelly Sue Deconnick.
Don't you
she
forget
uses middle name because she wants people to know absolutely that it is a female writer. She got a lot of shit for this before it even was published. Like because people were calling her an angry feminist.
Oh God.
And they were like, that's not Captain Marvel, that's not Carol Danvers, and all this kind of stuff. And she just wanted to have strong women. And like
that's how you win a conversation. And you tell them that they're an angry feminist.
Oh yeah, that's always works.
And later on she was like, I mean, of course I'm like paraphrasing, but she's kind of like, fine, fuck it. You want angry feminists?
You haven't even seen my final form.
You want angry feminists? She starts writing her own comic called Bitch Planet. And basically it's like all of the women, the women that don't follow suit to society's expectations are sent to another planet.
And all the artwork is like pulpy 70s like blaxploitation look. And so it looks fucking dope.
I would like to have her on the show sometime. So
anyone?
We'll get there.
Kelly Sue Deconnick.
Us.
Kelly Sue Deconnick. Kelly Sue Deconnick.
So anyway, volume 1.
So, well, real quick, obviously publisher Marvel, Kelly Sue Deconnick, who is currently writing Ghost for Dark Horse Comics. But yeah, has been pretty much writing the series for Captain Marvel and Avengers Assemble for a while. And David Lopez, who is the full-on illustrator. So not only did he pencil and ink, he did both. Both. That's BOFE.
Yes.
Wow.
Both. And has been known to do longer runs on Catwoman and All New Wolverine. And All New Wolverine, for anyone that doesn't know, is X-23.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the girl
lady with the claws.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't
so
say
does
like
that bring us to favorite parts?
That does bring us to.
I know mine absolutely.
Wow.
Do you really go for Josh?
Just
Give it to
because
us.
I have to read it just because it was just so perfect. Her line. It is my favorite. I read that. I stopped. I went back and I read it again because it was just so fucking badass. And she, Captain Marvel, is basically talking to Jason's hologram. And she says, "Leave now or I will find the other side of that projection. And if I live to be 100, I will never come to grips with what I do to you next."
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
Shakespearean.
That's true.
shit.
Shakespearean.
I am
revenge.
going to fuck you up to the point that I won't ever be able to get over what I do to you. And I'm like, damn.
She's what the layman's call bad mamma jam.
She's a bad mamma jamma, and
Well, sassy.
I mean, I like the
Spicy.
whole book, but that moment I was like, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
Yeah. That's pretty.
That's badass as
That's pretty fucking cool.
It's a terrifying thing to say to
When I
someone.
read that, I didn't quite understand it at first, so I was like, "Wait, what'd she say?" And then I
Did she
reread it, and I
just-
was like, "Ooh, hello."
She gonna fuck him up.
She gonna fuck him up good.
Caitlin?
One of my favorite parts was Tony Stark and her talking while
course
beating
Tony
up the
Stark.
suit. Well, no, I just like the casualness of like
Spider-Man Homecoming. I know.
beating
I loved that.
beating the dudes up and just like having a conversation, and even there being like, "Excuse me, are you really talking right now?" And they're like, "Shush, shush, the adults are speaking." Like,
Yeah.
I just
Because
love
there's
the
such
casual.
small time to what they've fought.
Yeah, it's like
in
a
comparison.
flea.
Well, the cool thing is what this does. A lot of comic book writers use this mechanism of like two superheroes fighting like fucking randos, like C-list villains, to establish like they know each other. They've been knowing like this fleshed out team up has happened
This
before.
is normal.
This is their power
know how
levels.
to work together.
They know how to work together, and also gets you a little bit caught up to speed of like, oh, this is where they're at in the relationship. It's kind of like if Batman and like Tim Drake is fighting together. Like, oh, okay, so Jason's already dead, and we know Nightwing's already there. So like it infers 5 different things already have happened.
Yeah.
So like, okay, Civil War's already happened. Aaron Patriots. Okay, so that means Norman Osborn already became okay.
I think that's
Made me
another
happy to see
like
Iron Patriot.
I wasn't necessarily aware of that when it was happening, but I was like, oh, this is a nice little conversation. It's actually like me that click point where I'm starting to be like, oh, I kind of get what's going on now.
Well-
so that's probably another reason why I was like, oh, I like this.
Well, I mean, like for someone like quote unquote me, right, who's like read all the comic books, it's kind of like okay, I know where this takes place in time frame. But then for someone that's never read anything, it's like okay, cool, they're friends, they know each other, they're on
Yeah.
the same side, they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
hate each other.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't see this with like Punisher and Iron Man. They're like, they don't hang out.
No?
No, they don't fucking hang out.
Fair. Another favorite part, although it's kind of silly, I guess, was when they were like, it's vibranium. I was like, oh, I know that
Thing from the movie.
I understood that reference.
I get it. I can understand what's happening now. Felt really dumb, but yeah, that was great.
Stripped away.
Thanks, buddy.
Black Panther.
Tom's helping.
Corey, what is your favorite pod?
Flerken.
Cat, the cat part.
With Rocket.
I've used for
Wow.
the last 2 weeks. I've used nothing but Flerken.
As an expletive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. My wife and I have just I read that to her the other day, and now I just refer to my cats as my Flerken cats.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that seeing the Guardians was fun. Rocket's always a lot of fun. I liked whenever she. I love how her mask looks.
Yeah, her
the
mask
mohawk
is
and
really
everything.
cool.
That it does form.
It does form, and you could see it. I'm gonna call it swishing on and swishing off.
Yeah.
Swoosh.
I was like, hawk on, hawk off.
Yeah.
We had very different interpretation of what that sounds like.
One of my favorite parts for some reason that made me audibly laugh was Gil punching her every other
Oh, no
frame.
mistake then.
Yeah, that exactly. Oh, no mistake then. Boom! Like it audibly made me laugh out loud. But yeah, I think she's just badass as shit. Like I don't even think this comic completely encapsulates her power.
Not at all.
yeah.
No, she's.
I wanted to see-
Yeah,
which
she's
I was
cosmic.
definitely
a
wanting.
part of it I was kind of surprised by that I would say that this is more of a Carol Danvers comic than a
Yeah.
Captain Marvel comic.
Yeah.
In
I
that
agree with
sense of
that.
like you see her powers, it's all there, but it's like it's not what the book's about. It's not what
And I will add on to that because the first time I read it, I had no idea what she could do.
yeah.
So
You're
when
like,
things would happen, I'm like, wait,
is
what?
she
What can she do?
She's
What
not really in
what is she
danger.
capable of? Like, yeah. So it was interesting to see.
yeah.
So she can access this form. It's called the binary. And so like she literally accesses like cosmic power, like enough power to defeat like Galactus and like make Thanos.
The Cloud.
No,
the Angry Cloud.
make Thanos look like a
Angry
little
Cloud.
bitch, right?
Yeah.
Like real comic book Thanos. Like the movie Thanos is fucking weak as shit compared to comic book Thanos. Josh,
Yeah.
back me up.
Purple Thumb, Angry Cloud.
Anyways, and
Yeah.
like she doesn't do that in this comic book, which I think is cool because like to me, there's a lot of ways, and I'm gonna say this, wearing this shirt, DC Rebirth shirt. There's a lot of ways this could end up be like a bad New 52 Superman comic book, where a lot of the times what
could've,
happens.
yeah.
And when a lot of times that happened in Superman New 52 comic books was just like, look how fucking strong he is. Like one of the first panels, like, you've been bench pressing the entire Earth for 28 days. And it's like, why? I don't fucking give a shit. But also, he would destroy the universe with a flick of his finger, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like, all since like they do that to establish like, okay, this is how strong he is, but also but he can't be at two places at the same time, right? This one here just very much kind of like you don't get to see his upper limit of her strength, but you just get to see where her mind's at and how she responds to those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Because explaining how much power she hit that vibranium with and stuff.
Yeah, because out of nowhere she could have just went binary and she's like, I'm just going to destroy the entire Spartax fleet, and it's like, yeah, why don't you just fucking do that? But then that's like plot, right?
Yeah.
About to ask
Just
it.
buying time.
Yeah. So it's like plot shit where it's like, well, let's just fucking have the story.
Yeah.
And that's I think I'm okay with those things where it's like, well, why isn't fucking Adam Warlock here then? And it's like, okay, well, fucking relax, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and that's what has to happen with like these cosmic power beings who are like semi Omega level. It's like, well, why don't you just do that a power? It's like, well, they don't want to kill everybody.
Yeah, you gotta, and I think that's where they were clever
gotta
with
toe the
writing
line. Yeah.
writing in the plot to where it's like, okay, she's not trying to destroy the fleet, she's trying to buy time for them to like destroy the mine or whatever.
Yeah.
And find their own independence.
Yeah.
You know, because like if she fights their entire battle for them, then the Spartax will just come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my one of my favorite parts, I think it is possibly the intercut between the Empress and Spartax are talking, and then all the stuff that's going on with Carol Danvers on the planet, and then there's a final frame where Jason of Spartax is like,
It is
she's-
my will.
Yeah, the Empress is like, why? And then he's like, because it is my will. And it's like the thing is like he was like normal size to her like throughout the entire conversation, and then he just progressively got
Gets bigger
bigger
and
and bigger and bigger. Turned to the fucking Majora's Mask fucking moon size. It's like, oh god. So that part I really liked because it made him like a really cool villain. Like someone that I'm a little removed from because I don't get to see him at all. But also it's like, oh, I know how much of a dick he is and how much he deserves his uppins.
I also they did a really good job of kind of having this line throughout it of him being God.
Yeah.
And then
Which I love a lot.
Oh yeah.
I love a person who thinks they're God.
Oh yeah.
I love
And then
that
him
shit.
getting squooshed like a bug at the end.
It's fucking why in fucking 300. You know, like I love the main villain. He's like, I am kind, so you must kneel to me. It's like that shit. It's like I fucking love those kind of villains because it's like I can't wait.
Yes.
Can't wait.
It's coming.
But I also liked one
Comeuppance, some might say.
when
yes.
Carol Danvers was like, oh, I can't be an Avenger and I can't save them, but I am Captain Marvel. I am a hero of Earth. And then she has this entire monologue. It's like, I am Carol Danvers of Earth and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, I'm going to fight. And then she puts on the Hawk-On helmet and she fucking like goes after the fleet, which is like, it was the moment where it's like, you hear the music swell. It's like, oh, she's gonna fucking go like go into
like the panel you had pulled up. Bring
where
it up
she
again.
does a little heart flying thingy.
Well, it's the one panel where it shows her like it's all zoomed out, but it shows her like flying into the fleet.
Yeah, why'd she do that little weird circle zoom?
Yeah.
Because
the
it looks like
circle
a
zoom thing.
heart,
Well, no, that's not why.
That's not why.
but it could look like a.
She was just in one place, and then like she's like, whew, but you can like hear because that little flash looks like she's going Mach speed.
Yeah,
And then she's just like going. She's just booking it to the fleet.
but it's like a heart.
Yeah,
He keeps saying that, and he really wants to be at a heart, and it's not.
a heart,
Go with the heart
Tom.
thing.
It's a heart to Tom.
It's a heart.
What do
Just for
what's,
you.
What's your favorite part, Ollie?
My favorite part was pretty much in the beginning here, and it made me realize that I'm going to really like this book. I'm trying to find it. She's talking to Rhodey about having to go to space, and then she starts having an inner monologue, and you start to get an idea of like why she's going, like why she chose to like be the one to go or whatever. And there's this one panel that I really like. This one, I'll just read it real quick. There's an instant, a fraction of a second before the world catches hold. Oh, I guess that you have to know the pretense of that. Have you ever seen a little girl run so fast she falls down? There's an instant, a fraction of a second before the world catches hold of her again. A moment when she's outrun every doubt and fear she's ever had about herself, and she flies. Like that was like pretty powerful.
And then
stuff.
she proceeds to fly off the
And
planet.
then she proceeds to fly off the planet. In that moment, every little girl flies. I need to find that again. So you can see that she's felt this at some point in her life, and she needs to feel it again to get her clarity as a character. And so to me, that was her like, and she even says like, I have to go find out who I'm supposed to be, who I'm about, get some perspective. And then when I return back to Earth, I'll have a better sense of where I belong here. Which is oddly poetic for her character in her history in comics too. But
Well, yeah, I mean, it is kind of like she has just to find her place because I think for a long time, and the cool thing is that it relates a lot to how Natalie Portman's character in Thor. Anyways,
Jane
Foster Thor. Like a lot of her first issues was like, what would Odin's son Thor do? What would Odin's son Thor do? And then a lot of her lessons were like, you're Thor now. What would you do?
Mm-hmm. And then it's mirrored with your favorite part at the end.
Yeah,
where it's like, okay, I'm Captain Marvel of Earth. And so this makes me really excited for this character's story and why I'm so super stoked for the movie. And why I think she might be one of my favorite Marvel characters. But it's because of like, it's not about like, and not to get too deep into this topic, but like Wonder Woman, it's like female empowerment. I get that. It's great. This, like, I feel like it's more about just a human. Like she's a human. Her societal things happen to be that she's a woman and she has those problems or those challenges ahead of her, but it's a human story.
The cool,
self-contained.
The juxtapose between Captain Marvel and like Wonder Woman. I don't know. I don't think there's ever really been like a debate between the two.
No.
It's a little bit more like Storm and Wonder Woman, mainly because Wonder Woman kind of portrays wisdom.
Yeah.
Because she has like the Amazonian, the gods, and all that stuff. She comes from a really rich history of Themyscira and all that shit. But Captain Marvel, which I think a lot of people are going to really latch on to, is a similar story of like Spider-Man, of like greatness being thrust upon her. Like she's thrown into a world that she can't possibly survive.
I would say I feel it's closer to Superman, but not from a power standpoint. Obviously, there's power parallels there, but just from a standpoint of like not knowing like why you're stronger or why that's important and having to discover, okay, well then what do I do with my powers? Not knowing where you came from really, not having that context. He had the Fortress of Solitude, thankfully.
Yeah.
.exe that he could just like learn everything. But
for me, I in that same conversation, I always found that Superman is more of the immigrant story, especially the Jewish immigrant story into like a fucking Brooklyn and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like with her, it's a little bit more of kind of like, I have this power, and then what do I do with it in that same sense of what you're talking about? And it's like a little bit more of like, I want to be a hero versus like, it's like heroic things are thrust upon me. And that's a cool thing. And there is a big criticism that a lot of DC heroes have is like, I have to do the right thing and I don't know what to do and everything's so duplicitous, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of Marvel and a Marvel Now stuff, a lot of the characters in that lightness and that tone that we're talking about with the MCU, they get praised and they should be of like, heroes want to be heroes. And there's a good thing about that. And like, there shouldn't be like oh, you want to be a hero, you're a fucking loser. Like fucking, that's what all of Kick-Ass is all about. Is about people who want to be heroes. And so like this here is actually a superhero in a superhero world in the greater galaxy where like, and the cool thing is like in the Avengers 1, they kind of hinted on this. Earth is a place where villains go to die. And so now we're going to take a character and put him in space. So they don't have the fucking like belt or the fucking cage of like Thor will save me or Hulk will save me. It's like the Avengers, like no, you are one hero in the pantheon next to the fucking
vastness of space.
Yeah, the cosmic beings like eternity.
Yeah.
And the living tribunal, like good fucking luck.
Yeah.
And like the Nova Force is like trying to fight off like things that you never even heard about. So it's like it's a really cool thing.
That's what I like about the cosmic universe in Marvel.
Yeah, it's way more fleshed out than DC's.
It just it feels in a weird way. It's like it's less and more approachable. It's like more approachable because it still feels human and grounded most of the time, and then it feels farther away that it's like it's more grand and more like cosmic,
more grandiose,
and more grandiose. And so I really dig that about the cosmic universe, especially if it becomes like a phase 4 like concentration.
Yeah.
Of theirs.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, fucking sad that Inhumans is a thing. Anyways, but that would bring us to
favorite
side characters. Well, obviously, it's Captain Marvel's our favorite character. Yeah. But favorite side characters. Corey.
Yeah, what's up?
Favorite side character, sir.
Gil, he says.
Gil.
Okay. Gil. Loved Gil. That made me laugh out loud, and I was like, this guy gets me.
Is he old white children? No.
No, he's the big like half goat.
Yeah.
Caitlin.
Rhodey.
Oh.
Just because he's
Iron Patriot.
You went super side character.
Yeah, I did. I went super side character. No, just he was being a real good boyfriend.
Yeah,
like,
he was.
Yeah.
He's really chill with his girlfriend going away for like a year to go fight in space. Like, that's cool of him.
So supportive.
He's so supportive.
As I always say, you never want to cockblock knowledge.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Especially when your girl want to go to college.
I could never kind of really figure out how to say her name, but it was the Queen Elenide.
Queen Lady.
Queen Lady.
I'd say, ma'am.
There were some times that I
Queen
was like, I didn't like her, but like later on, she kind of she saved the cat. She saved the flerken for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I liked her.
Cobra hood.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah. Whenever she got upset.
yeah,
I was like, I see why you're in charge.
yeah. It all makes sense.
Ollie Stone Infinity Free.
Mine is mine's Rocket.
Okay.
I just was laughing the whole part, and I thought it was. I don't know who came first, but I saw like Bradley Cooper's voice was in my head the entire scene, and I was like, "This is just gold." Just with the flerken scene,
Written really well.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of, for those who have never read like these Marvel comic books in the Guardians of the Galaxy, what do you guys think of how Groot looked like?
Groot?
Groot was like,
Well,
"Why does he look so demonic?"
Yeah, he
dug
looked
it.
very demonic, which I wasn't
Yeah.
The thing
upset
about Groot
about.
is he actually comes from a planet of like tree people who are super violent, like barbarian warlord type people.
Damn.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, I believe I read that.
And
Yeah.
everyone just thinks of the fucking little Teletubby looking thing, and they're like, that's great.
doesn't he have like a really sordid, sad past?
Yeah.
He's got a super sad past.
Because
That's why he
everybody
only-
else can talk and he can
Yeah.
only say, I am Groot.
In the current,
because of
in the
I
current-
think he chooses to.
he could only say I am Groot.
He's regressing.
Well, yeah. In the current one right now, he can speak normal,
Oh,
but I think he still talks to himself in third person.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
He says normal sentences, but he's like, and Groot says this. It's like, okay, cool.
wow.
So, but that'll fucking change. They did that shit with Bizarro, and that shit changed. Because no one fucking likes it. Everyone likes the status quo. Everyone's like, don't
It's
change
funny.
my characters.
Like it's always funny whenever you.
Yeah, I think
whenever
they
you hear
said
I Am
that
Groot.
he's like technically like a monster, and his people wanted to come to Earth to like get humans and study them and probe them and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
make paper out of them.
Wow.
I haven't heard that alien story before.
yeah, right.
You did your Rocket. Mine is fucking Spartax, Jason. The thing is, the reason why is because
Makes sense.
he's
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
he's so well done, and like I haven't read Volume 2 or Volume 3, but like from this, it's like I would love to just see like the feud go on between them. Like she's going on doing her own thing, but then like Jason happens to show up, and then the
would
final
you-
climax is like she has to fight him. And
Quick sub question for you:
who did I cast as him?
Who would you cast as him?
Let me see his face one time. For some reason, John Hand's coming in my head.
Oh.
That'd be cool.
Whoa.
Mark Strong.
Mark Strong would be cool. You know who'd also, I don't know, for some reason, just because with the facial hair, I'm getting like a little bit of a Tommy, Green Ranger, Jason David Frank.
Oh wow.
wow.
Think Kevin Feige.
I know, right? So that means Javier Bardem.
Very
And
good.
he would be fucking sexy as shit. I'll tell you what.
That'd work.
Qualms now.
Corey?
If
Qualms.
Corey said Flerken.
That's right. Just
yeah.
quick answer.
Oh, he's a
I
Gil.
just
He's a
did
Gil.
a quick Google search on Groot, and it's the stiffness of their vocal cords makes it sound like all they're saying is "I am Groot," but we can't. Other people can't pick up on the other sounds they make.
Oh, interesting.
So, am I doing qualms?
Yeah. If you
Sure.
have any.
This whole story for me was just a little too vanilla, and that's my own baggage of being someone who has read a lot of comics. There was just nothing that really struck a chord with me. I guess I learned a lot about the character as a whole, but there was no real moment where I felt really excited about what was happening. So it was just a little too much of an introduction, I guess. There was no point where she used her powers where I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome!"
Yeah.
Except to like punch the ground really hard. So for me, and vanilla in the sense that they introduced these cool characters that I'm sure they use later on, like Gil and Jackie and stuff. But in this story, they didn't do anything. Like they introduced these really cool characters, and they kind of just flew their ships up to help her distract, and then we're just kind of like, all right, we did it.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'll agree with that. Like it definitely felt like a launching off point, maybe more of a like an act 1 type thing. Where because even at the end when it sort of comes full circle with her character, that's not the absolute of that
Right.
journey. It's
Where she gets the little
it's
flash.
like her first step into realizing what
and
she
it-
can do.
It left me. I guess it left me wanting isn't the right word because it didn't make me excited to like. I got to read the second one. I wasn't left with that. I was kind of like maybe I'll read it. But
I'll say the first half for me was a lot more exciting.
yes, the second
Of the
half
book.
really kind of plateaued for me.
Really? Because for me, it was the opposite.
I call that the junk, like not in a bad way, just because junk food sounds bad, but I call it the junk food syndrome, where like you can eat a shit ton of it, but you'll never feel full.
Yeah. That I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of substance to it. That's my big qualm.
Very good.
I
Wasn't long
can
enough.
agree. I can agree in a sense that it wasn't like, whoa, break your head open, so exciting. But I did want to read more. In fact, I started reading the second one.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Mr. Higher, Further, Faster, to Infinity and Beyond more, huh?
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come off as like every story has to blow my fucking mind, but I just wasn't.
But it does.
hooked,
Yeah.
Is all.
But it does.
It could have.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really. It felt very like a volume 1. And I was like, oh, it's a volume 1. Okay. I don't really know much about this character except for what I've seen. It's like it's a volume 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any qualms that I would have loved to have seen more powers, but I guess
Yeah.
I'll keep reading.
Yeah, I think its strongest point was setting her up.
Yeah.
I think it set her up really well.
Yeah.
And everything with her directly involved was fun to read and see what happens and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree with like the actual plot of it didn't seem very like I didn't feel the stakes as much. And it felt kind of like a
Medium rare?
Not
Rare.
It was a
Did you
little
say steak?
paint by number Z in the sense of like, okay, it has a little bit of that Fern Gully plot in there, just to give it beats to get to the next point.
Yeah.
It checks a lot of boxes.
Right, exactly. But it's for what it is. I think it's well written and well told and well drawn and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, it looks beautiful.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that as a little
Okay.
blot.
Little block.
Tom?
This is like kind of like a Marvel-ish baggage I have, and it's not like movies or anything like that. Like I think it's kind of funny. I think it's cool because it's kind of like what DC movies are doing right now. It's like metahumans. That's the fucking thing. And then Marvel movies like space. That's the thing. That's like the fucking thing. The reason to get you like your palate all wet. In the comic books, it's very much vibranium. Vibranium's the fucking plot point of everything.
Really?
Like in a comic book where Doctor Doom fucking took over Wakanda, like Black Panther, what he ended up doing is like some ex machina ass bullshit made all vibranium on the earth inert. And it's like now Wakanda can't fucking be a top tier civilization now because its main source of money is gone. It's like, we get it, Marvel. Vibranium's fucking important, but it's like shit. But it's like it's a cool meta conversation of like Bitcoin, right? Of like what happens when the biggest currency in the world fucking goes away, or in like the fucking Brexit thing, right? So it's like that kind of stuff, and it's like it even leads into space where it's like vibranium's super important. It's like, is it that important? Like fucking cosmic cubes, infinity stones, fucking like universal nullifiers and things like that. It's like there's a lot of cool other things you could have done, like as Guardian technology. But it's like, okay, cool. That was my one like major, just like, of course it's vibrating.
To be fair though, like there are all those other cosmic things, but I like for me the current information that I have, it makes sense that vibranium is like the common thread because that's like what is attainable for these villains.
And I love the fact that they're like, we're gonna align our shit. I was like, that's fucking smart. And I was like, this is a cool thing, but it's like, oh,
It's giving you familiar things so you can
Latch on.
and buy a little bit more of that investment.
to me, the way I see vibranium in a sense is almost kind of like if this was like Green Lantern, right?
Yeah.
And then we're following one Green Lantern and we went to a planet and then the same thing happened. They're like, what's wrong with the planet? There's kryptonite. of course it's kryptonite. It's always kryptonite. You know, it's like that's kind of like how I felt about it. But like that's the one thing that's like irked me the most. It's like,
interesting
cool.
though. Now that you're mentioning it, like I agree with that, but at the same time, I feel like it has to be vibranium in this book because the Guardians are in here, Iron Man is in here, so it's like,
For
hey,
people like
here's
me,
this new character that you should maybe care
like,
about.
That was surprising to me when it was vibranium because
yeah.
I was like,
Let's make
vibranium!
you
I
excited
never
with
even
other
thought of
things.
that.
This is my baggage, right? Let's say if you guys didn't fucking know anything about Superman, you'd be like, fucking red kryptonite's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, it just makes him angry.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? Kryptonite's stupid.
Like, I know vibranium. I'm hip to this. I can be hip to Captain
I know that
Marvel, too.
reference.
It invites people in.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my main
me.
thing because I really liked it. And the thing is, like, I knew what I was getting myself into with the Volume 1, Marvel Now, yada, yada. Like, again, these comic books with, like, Marvel Now and Volume 1s and any type of Volume 1 with DC, Marvel, Image, all that shit, they're like, they can fucking blow your mind. And they can fucking give you stakes. And that's the one thing that I wish, like, no one fucking really died.
Yeah.
And that's why you
I
were
was
like,
just about to bring that up.
and it's like, who gives a shit? No one's died. Who gives like, there's zero danger. And Miss
There's no
Marvel
consequence
is
to
not going to
anything.
die here. Like, I haven't seen one person die. And also, there's not one person stronger than her. So who gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, what the fuck do you,
To their
what do you
credit,
want out of 6 issues? Right?
Yeah.
to their credit, they didn't introduce anything that would lead you to consider someone dying.
Well, like
Which is to its detriment, but also it was its safety net.
The closest
of like,
they
it
got
didn't-
was Gil and Jackie being like, "There's a self-destruct button on this ship,"
well, I mean,
and
like,
then it just showed them at the end next to each other, being like, "We didn't use them."
yeah.
it's kind of like, and that's to me, I think that's a Marvel comedy trope.
Yeah.
Listen to Trope Time. But in comparison to like Green Lantern, right? We saw Saint Walker and fucking all of the Blue Lanterns fucking die. We saw Glommy die. It's like, holy shit. I know this main crew may not die, but I don't doubt they might get maimed. I don't doubt like they might fucking like not make it to the next issue.
There were
because,
stakes.
Yeah. And so there's a difference in the play, right? But it's neither here nor there. So it's like I don't hold it against this book.
Yeah.
It just already kind of guided me towards like
It's one of those things that you
nothing's
just pick
gonna
up on.
fucking happen.
It's
I'll
on
say-
the back of your mind.
Yeah.
I'll say it this way: I think that's why the second half drifted off for me. Is I had no tension.
It felt
I
like
just-
really.
Set up stakes for you to then
It felt like it was
they-
wrapping
and-
up.
latch onto.
So for me, no, not even that we were wrapping up. It just felt like, almost like they were trying to force stakes. For me personally, like when she was making that speech, yes, it was badass, but at the same time, I was like, what the fuck's gonna happen? Like nothing's. What are you doing? Why are you making this?
Is Iron Man going to
nothing's-
come stop you?
Do you know what I mean? Like there's no stakes. No one's in danger. No one's dying. Like
Yeah.
it just for me, it kind of took it away. Nothing had happened at the halfway point yet. So at that point, I figured like, we're good.
Yeah.
We good.
Well, and from my perspective, like
We'll go to
her,
your qualms next. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
But your perspective first.
my perspective is that like monologue she has at the end
It's dope.
is more about, huh?
It was dope.
Yeah, well, it was
is
dope.
dope.
But it was more about like the Ollie's favorite part of being that little girl that, I have that moment where you fly. That was her kind of
yeah.
realizing who she was. So that's why like
I don't
was-
discredit that at all. It just wasn't. There was no. It wasn't a crescendo for me, like I think it's supposed to be, because
Okay.
when it happened, I was just. I was in.
It had a potential, I think, to be more impactful if something more
If there were stakes or something
Something
had just happened,
crazier
or
had happened.
someone was in
beforehand.
direct danger.
I was
kind of
fully
thing.
expecting someone to be like in a lot of trouble, and when they weren't, I was like, okay.
But I kind of also at the same token, like I kind of appreciated that about it, like kind of like where you're
Right.
saying, where it's like I felt that it was very much a story of Carol Danvers, of like her finding out, okay, like she's just deciding what kind of person she is,
And this
Yeah.
is
But,
it's
like,
just
she's
that
gonna have
arc.
an ultimate test.
To compare
at
it
some
to another
point, but this
Marvel
isn't it.
thing, right? Like the Old Man Logan is not a Wolverine story; it's a Logan story.
Right.
But that same moment is comparative to the
Snicked.
2-page Snicked, and for me, it didn't have any sort of.
It didn't have the snake.
I didn't go like fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh cool.
I would even argue for a Spider-Man movie that I'm like, it's not that great, but everyone fucking loves it. It's Homecoming. And it's the moment where like he's crushed underneath all the building and he looks at the reflection of himself and he fucking, Simba, remember who you are. It's the same movie. But he like cries, and he picks it up and he fucking swings out. It's like there's not that kind of moment where you feel like Carol Danvers was truly defeated.
Yeah.
She was defeated in a diplomatic sense, and that comes across literally. But then there would have been like into Corey's qualm, like to improve it, like if she had found that out while she was trying to say something that was completely false, like a misleading thing. It's like, this planet's about to explode. People are dying. Get them off. And you find out Jason is like, also, this was all a ploy, and there's no fucking, blah, blah. Everyone's going to die of vibranium. And then she's like, oh, shit. I signed a treaty saying I'm not going to interfere, and now I have to make the decision to break the treaty, become a fucking, like, intergalactic prisoner, like, criminal,
Rogue.
and, like, save these people at the same time. Like,
it would be dope if, like, we know she can take a hit, right? So, like, it would be dope if the guy was, like, fire at the planet, and all of a sudden, halfway to the planet, the beam hits something, and they're like, what the hell was that? And it's fucking Captain Marvel. And then she gives that speech. I'd be like, fuck yes, here we go.
Because kind of the most we really got of that is she got, like, she got hit, like, by a spaceship. Yeah. And the immediate response was, oh, shit. Like, and you weren't really worried about her either.
Yeah.
At the same time.
What I mean. Like, I still love that moment. I still love that speech. That just didn't have the weight, I think, for me, I think that it was supposed to have.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Do you have any qualms, actually?
I have a couple. The like snake hair lady, I forget her name. I'm really bad at names, guys. Jackie. She had a girlfriend. Where the fuck did she come from?
I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe she was working.
They just
maybe she was supporting them.
That's fine. But like, I had when she just showed up, I was like, I thought she said
it was a side character to a side character.
Yeah, a side character through a side character, and there was just like there wasn't even like an offhand mention of her, and so I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe she's working her 9 to 5 so Jackie could follow her dreams to be a fucking repair person.
That's fine.
That has to do with my qualm.
So I just wish there was even like a side mention of like, yeah, my girl, blah, 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 like something just to give me some kind of foreshadowing that some character is going to pop out of the blue and be like, I love you, mwah.
All I'm doing is when there's a picture of like a wolf on a bus, it's like, why the fuck is there a wolf on a bus? Well, he can't fucking drive, Karen.
Oh my God.
It's that shit. It's like, well, maybe she's working and supporting Jackie, okay? Fucking get off her back.
Maybe you're right. And then my other thing was there were a couple times where the art of Carol Danvers changed dramatically, going a little off model, and that was like jarring for me.
The second book is very different.
Really?
Like very. I don't know if I want to say very, but like
Volume 2, you mean?
Volume 2. I'm sorry, Volume 2. I started reading it and I was like,
probably different.
What?
Different
illustrator.
Different, yeah, probably so.
So,
but yeah, I mean, even within this, like, I know that there was one illustrator, so it was just like, wait. Yeah, there was just a couple things that throws it off for me a little bit.
It's kind of like when anime, they do different fight scenes, and it's like, what the fuck? Why did all of a sudden all the detail go away?
Yeah. And I mean, it honestly, it's not that huge of a qualm, because with something of this magnitude,
it's
like, of course that's going to happen. But yeah, it is something of note.
Ollie, you had another qualm?
Yeah, mine was...
Okay, moving on.
Mine was part of the Jackie thing of them being...
Jackie!
A random girlfriend.
Yeah.
I feel like at a couple moments, it might have been a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
With the female empowerment, because in that third act, 3 different female characters are going up against the man, and they are all successful, which is great. But I was like, okay, I get it. Like, one of them that they're all against, like, happened to be the emperor, happened to be a guy too. I was like, I get it, but it just felt a little.
To me,
like I noticed it. It broke the fourth wall in that sense, where I was like, okay, like, you don't have to have all 3 of them.
I get that, and I think
journey,
you and I have discussed like where we kind of differ based on like, if you notice it, it's a bad thing. For me, if I notice it, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that's like a terrible thing unless you're Alfonso Cuarón and do it in Gravity. I'm like, I fucking get it, dude.
No, I mean, I felt that. I actually kind of felt the same way with the relationship, like with Jackie and her girlfriend. I was like, why is this happening right now? It did not
the relationship itself, but where it came up.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
Like, it was like,
if it had come in earlier, It wouldn't have been.
That's what.
would've been more
And that was
natural.
part of my qualm. It was just like
it wasn't even mentioned.
It wasn't
you
even
were saying,
mentioned. Yeah. So
Not that it matters, but like
it didn't.
the way
feel,
they presented it made it feel like it should matter.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, you didn't really like set this up properly. But that was it's a minor
The only
thing.
reason I'm super like I look past it mainly because like I see it as like this fucking like sea of like a drop of blood in a sea of salty ocean
Yeah.
of just men stories.
no, that's
And it's
totally fine.
And it's usually like a man like, my wife, who gives a fuck about your wife?
Yeah, I'm drawing too much
Like-
Hollywood perspective into it for sure. But
yeah, same.
I get-
I'm
I
aware
get
that
the,
it's the current like social climate.
Yeah.
That's it's making me hyper aware of it.
yeah, you're cognizant of it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, and I think that's what happens is like when something like this, it's like riddled in it. And
Yeah.
it's like, because this is a story that it should talk about this stuff. Because the thing is like, not all the story, like this is like 99% all about it.
Yeah.
Every other thing is like 1% about it. And
Yeah.
so like it feels so disproportionate in one book because it's vastly disproportionate in every other book.
Right.
And so that's why it feels like so like, oh, I fucking get it.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess the reason I notice it more is because, of course, I want those things in there. Of course, I want like lady on lady
Same.
like relationships and female empowerment and
Well,
fighting the man and everything else.
Hold on. Slow
I
your
know,
roll.
I'm sure you're gonna go back to the video and see me be like, huh? But I guess there's also this like desire on my end to see it introduced in a very fluid and natural way to where I don't notice it as much.
Soft
Right.
touch.
Soft touch rather than like smack, here it is. Like,
yeah.
Bam! It's
Yeah,
just like, oh,
yeah, precisely.
The ball hit Harden's head.
Which, and that's like kind of not fair too, because then you're asking them to walk a very delicate tightrope.
Yeah.
But that's another
Like, what's
conversation for another day.
appropriate? What do you fuckers want?
Oh, what's a trope and what's not? Go to
Yeah.
trope time.
Yay.
But that allows us to move to our rating.
Rating.
And there's 2 on me and 2 on Corey.
One on Caitlin,
Yes.
On
right?
Caitlin.
Yeah.
And so Ollie and Josh must go first. Into the fire.
Ollie.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Ollie, rate it, please.
He said 4.5.
4.5.
Sorry.
He just got so excited because he thought of one and he had to say it immediately.
Josh.
I agree.
Yeah?
It's a 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah.
Caitlin.
4.7.
Oh.
I picked
5.
I didn't pick
Oh.
Wow.
4.75. That's
my.
right.
9,
Tom, you
6,
picked
7.
me.
So are you telling me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I picked you.
You picked each other, yeah.
Mine's 4.5.
4.5.
Wow. Corey.
Yeah, 3.7.
I win!
Wow. I was right.
I was just
Wow.
really.
How do you win?
Wow.
I knew it,
Because I picked the right person.
You were
Oh,
bored.
you picked Corey.
Is it,
I was bored.
do you think
You were
it's
bored. It wasn't
just
exciting
because
enough.
you know too much about comics?
No.
No, just the
No,
story,
he
right?
doesn't
I
know.
I
it's
just
like going
don't
back
think
to-
the story was that. It could have been more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and, like the tough thing too is kind of like trying to figure out what she fights for, and I think that's all big part of the subjects. Like,
Yeah.
Corey fucking like I'm going to speak for Corey now. Corey fucking loves X-Men, right? And X-Men fight for marginalized peoples. All their stories are about that shit, and so like it's hard to step away from like a very hard hitting story like that, even when they're fucking nonchalant small stories.
Yeah. I'll say I haven't read enough comics to know what the proper cadence of a story should be.
There's not,
But-
don't think of it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You
No,
like
but-
what you fucking like.
No, but to the next sentence would be to me this felt like a really strong pilot episode for something.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like
So
if
it
this
felt
was
like a
show-
volume 1.
It felt like a volume 1, but all 6 episodes, all 6 comics
Yeah.
together
For
felt
me-
like it would be a strong 47-minute trailer or 47-minute pilot.
I
Trailer.
don't agree.
fair.
I think it like like we said before, like it checks a lot of boxes, but in my humble opinion, other than like
Your
the
humble appearance.
very humble. Other than like it's like intertextuality about like women empowerment, like it doesn't take a lot of risks.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think as a writer,
It's safe.
Super safe.
she did, mainly because there are a lot of male comic book people out there who like don't want to read this shit. There's a fucking Star Wars cut without any of the female actors. You know what I mean? Like there's comics,
What?
there's comic book gate. And comic book gate is fucking like anti-women and anti-LGBTQ. It's like fucking ridiculous. And so like to be a writer and write something so like empowered for this. It's like it is a risk in its own right, but in the story and context of it, like Corey said, there's not a lot of risk. It's very safe where it's like, cool. And it's it's a very easy thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's even less to do with the story and just more about utilizing the characters better, I guess. You have a character that refers to her as a warlord goddess. Do you know what I mean? And they don't really do anything interesting with her. They got a guy who's huge, strong, like he knocks down Carol Danvers, and you don't see him do anything later on. You have a guy who's in a suit that protects himself. He doesn't do anything. Tick doesn't do anything. Like for me, it was just a lot of not enough payoff.
Well, I mean, they kind of do that with the Guardians too. They brought them in just for like a fucking 5 panels, and then you're like, all right, they're done.
Which I'm fine with because it's really not their story. But if you're gonna have her have a team, her own team that sticks with her and helps her fight in the end,
and they all looked like they had so much more
to give.
Yeah.
Because
when Jackie was like the goddess thing, I thought it was a joke because she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Well, also they kind of set that up in the beginning of the story where it's like before it goes to the 6 weeks earlier.
Let's do this again.
Well, no, she's looking for someone as opposed to like having like punched a bad guy before it cuts to the 6 weeks earlier. So you already know that it's like, okay, well, it's not a display of power.
For me, I was really sold on the before the 6 weeks when it shows the 5 of them stepping off the ship in that team formation. Yeah. Everyone's super unique. Everyone looks dope, being led by Captain Marvel, and then nothing happens. So for me, if they had utilized that team a bit more and given each one of them maybe a moment, I probably would have been above a 4, but it's 3.7 as is.
There was no Saint Walker here. Fair. Any gushing, or is that it?
No, I think I feel pretty
complete.
good.
I feel complete.
I liked it.
She makes me complete.
Now I'm complete.
Wow. Bree?
Capri Sun?
At us.
Capri Sun.
Capri Sun.
At him.
She's like really married though, isn't she? Or dating someone?
I don't know. Is she?
Like really married?
She's like really married.
She's interested in.
Anyways.
Wow. I'm really married. Corey's really married.
So anyway, I feel complete.
I'm feeling complete too.
Keep it moving, guys.
Let us know what you think of Captain Marvel as written by Deconnick.
Yes.
Kelly Sue Deconnick.
Kelly Sue Deconnick.
Captain Deconnick.
Did it excite you? Did you feel anything about the characters? Did you not like it at all?
Just your comments, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Like,
let us know.
Sad, whatever they are.
You can hit us up
We want to
on
know.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the good stuff. But if they, for some reason, didn't know how to get hold of any of that information, where could they find out where we exist?
You could go to nerdon.tv where you can find the links to everything.
And if you are new to Nerd On, you can check us out anywhere podcasts are heard. I can use my big words. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it's literally everywhere.
Watch us on YouTube. Let us know what you think of the video format. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments below.
If you would like to continue to support Nerd On, just listening, sharing, reviewing, all of that stuff helps. And if you want to go an even further step, you can check out that Patreon that I was letting you know.
And for today, since we're talking about Captain Marvel Volume 1 in preparation for the movie, if you would like to read this comic book, you can check out our Amazon affiliate link and buy your own copy.
It supports us, and you get a comic book.
Just make sure you buy it from the Marvel publisher. Make sure you actually give the correct company their money.
Yes.
Please.
As long as
if you want a good, nice, crisp copy.
Yes.
Also.
This is mine. That's yours.
But yeah, you can also on our website, you can check out our newsletter. You can sign up for it there. It is monthly, so just once a month. So we aren't inundating your inboxes.
You got plenty of spam from other places.
And we have another podcast, Trope Time, once a month, hosted by Izzy and Nikki. First Monday of every month, new episode. Check it out. Check it out. But thank you again for listening to this episode. We heart you.
A lot.
You know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.